Hey everyone, I'm Riley, an ER nurse, and I'm about to share a wild ride that happened in my life. It all started with an engagement ring and my mom's not so great reaction. Let me introduce my family first. My mom, Vivian, is 58. She's never had a paying job and takes pride in being the job of the family. She loves hosting parties in our Meadow Glen home, a small suburb outside Richmond. My dad, Greg, is a 60-year-old retired civil engineer who always defers to Mom. My sister Brooke is 33, married to Tyler, a junior partner at a litigation firm. Brooke's wedding was huge, and she has a 3-carat diamond ring that Mom mentions monthly. Now, me. I've been an ER nurse since I was 22, working 12-hour shifts, handling all my own bills. Mom never brags about my job. She just calls me the independent one. There's a photo wall at home with 7 photos of Brooke and only 2 of me. I met Nate 3 years ago in the ER. He brought in his apprentice, Danny, who had a nail through his palm. Nate stayed for 4 hours, waiting for Danny to wake up because he didn't want him to be alone. Nate owns a custom furniture shop, building tables, bookshelves, all by hand. 2 weeks ago, he proposed on the rooftop of his workshop with a beautiful white, gold ring, a simple band with a deep, blue sapphire in the center. I loved it because it was nothing like what Mom would choose. When I told Brooke, her first question was about the carats, and she warned me that Mom would have thoughts about the ring. But I hoped this time would be different. On Friday evening, Mom organized a celebration dinner. When Nate and I arrived, we found her country, club friends, Linda and Margaret there. As soon as I walked in, Mom grabbed my left hand, held the ring up to the chandelier, laughed and said, "This is what he could afford. Your father spent 3 months' salary on mine." Then she told Brooke to show me her ring. Brooke hesitated but did it. I felt so small, like I was 12 again. The thing is, Nate had come in through the back door and heard everything. He didn't smile. He just walked in, sat down next to me, and put his hand on my back. Mom tried to act normal, but Nate didn't play along. The rest of the dinner was Mom talking, as usual. After dessert, we left. In the truck, Nate drove with one hand and held mine with the other. He was quiet, like he was making an important decision. Back at the apartment, he asked if Mom had always been like this. I said yes, and he decided to call her the next morning. Saturday morning, Nate called Mom. He told her he heard what she said about the ring. Mom tried to brush it off as a joke and said I was too sensitive. But Nate stood his ground. She hung up on him. Then Mom called me, demanding I control Nate. I told her Nate called to talk, but she didn't listen. She gave me an ultimatum. If Nate didn't apologize by Saturday, the engagement party she'd planned was off. I was angry, like never before. And then the calls and texts started pouring in. Brooke asked Nate to smooth things over, Dad said everyone should apologize, and even Linda, Mom's friend, texted me to not ruin the party. But I found an old text from Brooke, from 2 Christmases ago, where Mom had insulted Tyler's gift. It was proof that Mom's score-keeping affected everyone. Nate and I decided to write an email. It detailed what Mom said at dinner, the story behind the sapphire, which I'll get to in a minute, that we wouldn't attend the engagement party, and that we'd plan our own wedding. The sapphire in my ring belonged to Nate's grandmother, Ruth. His grandfather, George, a carpenter like him, chose it because it was the color of the sky on the day they met. Ruth wore it for 41 years. Nate had carried the stone since he was 15. After sending the email, we waited. Dad called me, and for the first time he said he needed to think instead of just telling me to make peace. Mom called, angry that Dad wasn't talking to her. I told her the truth has consequences. Mom then tried to pretend everything was okay in the family group chat, saying the engagement party was still on. I called Brooke, and she said Mom told her everything was resolved, but it clearly wasn't. We decided to go to the party, not to play along, but to face Mom. On the day of the party, I wore a simple navy dress with only the sapphire ring. Nate looked great in a white button, down and dark slacks. When we arrived at Pinehurst Country Club, Mom intercepted us. She hugged me for show and told me to smile. She introduced Nate to her friends as Riley's fiancé who builds furniture in a way that made it sound like a consolation prize. When Mom gave a toast, she was passive, aggressive. She said she was surprised about my engagement and made comments about the ring and Nate's work. The room was uncomfortable. But then I stood up. I told everyone the story of the sapphire, about Ruth and George. I said I wouldn't trade my ring for anything. Helen Collins, a country club board member, stood up and toasted to me, Nate, and Ruth. The party ended quickly after that. Mom was furious, but Dad told her they needed to talk. That night, Brooke called me. She said Tyler had read the email and was silent. She told me more about how Mom had been treating Tyler, like saying his gift wasn't good enough. She realized she wasn't the favorite, but just the one who obeyed. The next day, I ran into Helen at the grocery store. She said Mom's behavior at the party made people think she was out of touch, and that's a big deal in the country. Club world. A few days later, I stopped by my parents' house. Dad apologized to me, which was huge. He said Mom needed to apologize to me and Brooke. Mom had been upstairs for 2 days. Then Mom called me, saying she wanted to talk. We met at Thornton's Coffee. She tried to apologize in a roundabout way, but Nate pushed her to be specific. Then she told us that when her mom got her engagement ring, her mom said something similar. She'd held on to the idea that the ring was a sign of doing something right for 35 years. I told Mom how things would be from now on. The wedding was ours to plan. She was invited as a guest, not an organizer. And the comparisons had to stop. Nate also said he wanted her at the wedding, but it had to be about us. Tyler called Nate to thank him, and they went for a beer. Tyler told Nate about all the times Mom had insulted him, and they decided to stop pretending that silence was peace. Slowly, things started to change. Mom resigned from the fall gala planning committee at the club. Her friends were pulling away. Dad made Mom see a therapist, and Mom started to make small changes. She stopped mid-sentence when she was about to make a comparison. We planned our wedding. We chose Nate's workshop yard with string lights and wildflowers. Brooke is my maid of honor, Dad is walking me down the aisle, and Mom offered to help with the wedding by making her pasta. The moral of the story? Silence isn't peace. I finally stood up for myself. And I hope if you're in a similar situation, you will too. You're worth more than any ring, and you don't have to accept love with a scorecard.